Fun facts. Not on bluegill. This isn't just bluegill. This is why do bluegills have bumps? Bluegill with protruding head, a nuchal hump, is a hump on the forehead of a male fish. This is a male fish thing, apparently. It can be very prominent or fairly subtle, and it can also be called a cock. K-O-K. I'm not kidding. Cock, right? Is there a link to that? Can I get some verification on that terminology? K-O-K. All right. Why do fun facts have to be so crazy every time? So from what people are gathering from the nuchal humps, I'm not going to say the cocks. I'm not going to say the cocks. I'm going to say the nuchal humps. It comes and goes, and it might be hormonal. They can seriously look deformed sometimes. So this hump is thought to be a display of dominance, used to mark how high they are in the hierarchy of other bluegills. If you catch one with a large Let's just make certain I'm saying this right. I'm gonna sound like a crazy person.
Nuchal.
Google confused me. It wasn't my fault. It laid out this huge way to pronounce nuchal. It was literally a paragraph explaining why it's nuchal, not nuchal. A nuchal hump, also known as a cock on a male bluegill, is the display of who's the biggest, baddest, meanest, most dominant masculine bluegill. These things need to be kept track of in the animal kingdom, apparently. Can't be confused in that. When they go through pre-spawning, the male's nuchal hump dramatically increases in size. But after the spawn, the nuchal hump deflates. What's inside of the nuchal hump? Their brain? Mostly fat, just kind of a way to store some extra calories. Oh, there's pictures of females having one too. Maybe they're transitioning. When they're in captivity or kept in a tank, there's usually no shortage of food, and so their nuchal humps grow. Captive fish have large nuchal humps. It's probably a show of what fish can get the food the best and tell all the females that's the fish you want the genes of because they're good at getting food. That's probably it. If I go any further into Google from here, we get into too many scientific papers. We step into the realm of too much effort being put into understanding nuchal humps. I'm good, are you? I'm confident in my understanding of a nuchal hump by now. When you scroll through pictures of nuchal humps on bluegills too, sometimes it's as if the entire fish is just very fat, and there's fat protruding from the forehead as well. A very well-fed bluegill. And then there's some examples of just, like the copper-nosed bluegills. Like, yes, that fish looks obese, and so does its forehead, but it seems to me that there's more to that forehead than just fat storage is spilling forward. Where's another one? There's another. See, here's a legit nuchal hump. This is off of, I think that's a peacock bass. It's kind of up to debate. It's not super certain that bluegills actually have these things, but, then what was the point of this entire fun facts? To figure out nothing? To figure out that bluegill can get fat on their forehead and it's not actually a nuchal hump? That might be it. In conclusion, they're definitely not as bulbous as other fish's nuchals can be, but bluegills have a lot of fat on their forehead. Fun facts are over. Woo. Frightening stuff when a 1/4-inch chisel just with all your body weight behind it goes down. And you're just praying no meat is under it. See, that's not bad because there's going to be a fin there. A slot's going to be cut right there, so I'm just going to cut that away. And man, why was that so difficult? You see where it's discolored? Just right, that's where the glue was. Just a little dab. Anywhoosie, let's do some work on the inside here.
Each movement with ease. Just repetition. Over time, and absolute control over himself and pressure suggestion. However,
my hands hurt, but this is going to look good. The transparency we'll be able to achieve with this Lexan polycarbonate going to make these fins look fantastic. Okay, I think I made sure that those did not go too deep because I have the outside profile to cut on this thing, and you know, you don't want to break through that. And we're gonna get that lead hot. Lead's getting hot. These are always a little strange to pour into because we're so flat, and it's not like a lead hole, it's like a lead disc. Like a lead puck, a lead saucer, a lead burger. Okay, my hardener hardened. Can't use that. My hardener hardened. Oh boy. Fine, I have some 30-minute. Let's do the hardener first just to be sure. Yeah, this will work. It's flowing. Now I can take my time. I believe this stuff has a 7-minute working time, so. The slots for the anal and dorsal fin have been carved. They'll be perfectly centered. For the past 2 days, I've been carving away with a file on these things. My goodness. It is not very fun to actually carve the fins out of Lexan polycarbonate. Fun fact, that's not fun. Let's use a brush. Boy, this takes me back. I used to clear coat my baits with this stuff. 30-minute Bob Smith Industries, and it's way thicker than the clear coat I'm very used to right now. But I remember it being this thick. Such a hassle. Not ideal. The brush was a fantastic call. Heck yeah, man. Look how even and thin that layer of epoxy is. It's not necessary to do both sides with the epoxy, but I'm going to do these lead holes on the other side too, just so those are extra secure. And I just said it's not necessary, but I did it anyway. I respect overkill. Okay, big moment. We didn't forget to carve anything, right? I think we're good. I even have a paper towel ready. Line this up to where you can't feel that seam. That bead of epoxy starts squeezing out, and it actually gets really hard to tell if you're lined up perfectly. Kind of have to wipe it away. We got time. It's 30-minute epoxy. Singing myself a soothing Blue Up song so I don't panic. We have time. All of that epoxy inside of that slot is unacceptable though. We gotta get that out. My fingers are getting sticky. Paper towel on a popsicle stick. Get that out of there. That's quite a few clamps, but I didn't cinch down particularly hard on any of those. And it's very, very flush. Can't feel the seam. Okay, time to take this out of the clampage. It's the next day. Pretty important step for the integrity of the bait, so I let the glue completely dry. It's a good seam.
So you don't have it, you don't know who has it, you don't know where it is.
Okay, we gotta sand this up, or down. Time to sand. There's some things you can't stencil. You really gotta eyeball it correctly. Like this lobiness down here. When I place the stencil down, I actually give it like a hair's width forward and up. I guess a pencil's width, because that's what I'm accommodating for. The tippy tip of a pencil's width. I read some Dr. Seuss last night, so my vernacular is on point. Before I send my knife into stuff, I try to make some sort of conscious decision on how deep I should be cutting based on what I'm cutting. I don't know the name of everything. Those are a lot of different things when it comes to the anatomy of a fish's gill plate, but I have a pretty good idea of how deep I should go. I don't just carve everything the same depth. Some stuff is more shallow on the real fish. Like on the ear right here, there's barely anything. Sometimes it just fades perfectly into the gill plate and there isn't a ridge. But I've been seeing a lot of pictures of big what was the word? Let's not use the slang. What was the word? Nuchal, big nuchal gills. And they have a line right there, right before the ear. That was dangerous. Usually I like to start in that corner right there, because when you cut to it and push that wood grain down into that little sliver of the space, it like rips it out and makes it look bad. But luckily that didn't happen. I'm giving away course material stuff with that kind of carving knowledge. Speaking of that, right now is a great time to get the Fish with Your Masterpiece lure making course. Winter's coming, and there's no better time to fill that time, all that time. Ooh, just gave me the chills. Time spent not on the water and in the shop with masterpiece making. Learn to make your very own masterpiece and go make it official. Christmas is coming up too, and handmade baits are about the coolest thing you could ever give somebody as a Christmas gift, just so you know. So I get the messages back of what people are thinking. Here's what they're saying. Jan says that it gives you a good baseline to start designing your own lures. It supports taking that next step. It gives you what you need to do next like that, instead of having to struggle finishing baits. Makes it a lot easier without having to learn through trial and error. Don't worry, I already did that. I understand the struggle. Jan made a freaking gnarly gill. Look at that. That thing looks exactly like mine. Amazing work, Jan. Jesse says, he struggled with everything before with lure making. The Marling Baits YouTube videos all made it look so easy, but when I finally tried it myself, he struggled. Turns out that it only looked easy because Nate has mastered the craft. Whoa there, Jesse. Jesse's tooting my horn. The details in this course have answered so many questions about the process, and ones he didn't even know he had. Jesse's bait making has reached a level he did not think he was capable of. There's the Fish with Your Masterpiece community, and Jesse says that it's a place where he can dig in and nerd out on the topics that he has previously struggled with. It's an invaluable resource. He says for anybody on the fence whether or not you're going to get the Fish with Your Masterpiece lure making course, it's probably because of pricing. And I'd have to agree. He said he struggled with that himself, trying to justify. But after getting it in hindsight, he regrets not getting it the day it was released. Chump change. compared to the knowledge shared. It's a lifetime access thing, so you pay once, you're in there for life. For everybody in it right now, get ready. This winter, I'm putting some new stuff in there. Jesse's before and after pictures, holy smokes, makes me proud. He shows his first bait, his last bait before he joined the Fish with Your Masterpiece course, and then boom, his most recent thing of beauty. Fantastic work, Jesse. Clean as heck. Anyway, wanted to talk for a while about that. It's something I put a ton of work into, something I'm pretty proud of, and we're seeing results, and it's helping bait makers. Can't get any better than that. So please join the Fish with Your Masterpiece lure making course. It's linked right down below. Let's get back on to the bait making video. This has got to go pretty deep down there. Then I'm gonna Dremel under, leave this little patch of flesh, and slide the round end in there, having it come off of the body at just the right angle so the joint can still work and not hit the fin. So I got the Dremel out and I started getting in that little slot, and I realized the rest of the body is just in the way. So we gotta cut this bait. Boy, look at how perfectly those met up on the center line. There's just some 30-minute epoxy holding this together right now. Let's get through that. Absolutely perfect. All right, now we should be able to get in there with the good old long skinny here. It's close. I cut this little notch in right there, and it's gonna come up flush once it's seated all the way in there. A 1/16 of an inch to go. That's coming off of the body very nicely. That allows for the bend. That edge has been sanded down to 300, and a lot of people tell me you can flame polish an edge of polycarbonate that's, you know, sanded down to 300, probably 220 even. But it's been my experience that if you can flame polish the polycarbonate to where it's like crystal clear after 300 grit, you got the weak polycarbonate. Because there's no easy way about polishing edges on real Lexan polycarbonate. It's way stronger too. I've broken so many lips because I didn't have the strong stuff. So, 400. I just did that edge right there. Let's see if it can flame polish 400. That's a little better. Getting stinky in here, but that 400 works a little better. You can see straight to where the line tie is going to go through. I'm sure if I went to 1,000 and did that, it'd be a little better. You have to get that quite hot. I have to hold it over here because I can't hold it over here. Very hot. I'm sure it could bend at this temperature if I really tried. I don't know what heating it like that does to the integrity of the plastic too. Might compromise it. That would be unfortunate if I break the lip off of this bait because I just did that. 1,000. Let's just flame polish the whole thing now that it's at 1,000. Man, it's clear. It's just not as like machining surface smooth as it would be if you like polished it against leather after 1,000 grit. Also, I don't know if you can see the deformation on this surface too. That isn't as good as putting the work in, you know? Good to know. Better than just leaving at 150 grit though. That's definitely true.
And before I knew it, but that's why we need and you're gonna hate the other side. They got life. That's how it goes to other men. And then men also need to spread it.
That snapped in place perfectly. We have a very straight lip. That looks good. Right in line with the center line. We're gonna get that glued in, get the rest of that hardware glued in, send this bulbous nuchal over to the paint booth. Thanks to my member baiters. on a recent live stream. Actually not recent, I got sick, so it's been like a week. We know what we're painting, and it's not a bluegill, it's not a sunfish, it's not even a panfish, it's a wolf cichlid. We did the vote, wolf cichlid got like half of all votes, so that's what we're doing. Never painted it before, I think it's an aquarium fish.
But if there's no caring, no investment, then she might be like, he's kind of cold.
Starting with white. Sand. When I was growing up, this is like the color everybody would paint the walls in their house. Sand. So the sand is down, but there's that's not just sand. On the top there is not just green. That's bluish green. We got very blue fins. It's like green chartreuse yellow. Little lines of chartreuse down the body. Hobgoblin hues. You really zoom out. There's a lot going on here. I'm gonna have to be careful with those grays. I'm gonna have to be careful with everything. It's just a mess. That is an absolute mess. Like the spots aren't even, they're not even. Well, the sand's dry. Next color, bluish green. I mixed up a special blue green. It's like 10 different colors in there. I was trying to get it perfect. That's pretty bluish green to me. A little bit of yellow. Well, it's here. You guys see it? It's not a bluegill paint scheme, but it's a bluegill body, so it's gonna have blue on the gills. That kind of seems like a strange place to stop and then apply a clear coat, but I'm gonna use a stencil for the rest of the spots towards the belly. I'll like find a good spot on the stencil where things are kind of lined up the most and spray. That way I can mask off the gills and all of that insanity that I put on those plates won't be affected. Clear coat. And don't get clear coat where it does not belong, like in there. Okay, that's a little bit of 8-bit Bates powder right there. Bluegill. Pixie dust. Bluegill pixie dust. It's throwing off the bluish greenishness, kind of gold. Matches the body. And then when you twist it and move it, there's this fleshy tone, kind of pink. Trying to keep this clear coat to where all of that detail still exists. I'm gonna have to paint back over that black here because there's just too much shininess over it now. Just grabbing tiny bits at a time on the brush and applying it to small areas, stretching it out kind of thin. We're gonna put some of everybody's favorite fluid on the gills. It gets a little fuzzy inside of the fin there, but that's fine. Won't see that very much. It faded out until it got to the ear. I wanted to do that. That's good. That completes the look. Lovely. Looks appropriate. Top scales are going to be different, probably with gold. I'm gonna put a bleed checker over that. It's kind of like a clear coat. It's gonna protect the graphite. Then I'm gonna paint the fin from the back. And when I clear coat it, this surface has been sanded down to 400. It'll make it clear when I clear coat it, and everything will pop. That's my plan. Nice. That looks ridiculous in a good way. Colors match good. Painted this one with some smoke black towards the tip. That's the way the real thing looks. There's just one piece left up there to put some finnage on, and you're gonna see what this looks like in just a second. Just over here at the sander again. Getting this tail fin so it fits nice and snug. It's looking snug to me. Now I need to carve out some spines, sand everything smooth, get it ready for molding. I should have done this yesterday, I just completely forgot. This is Alumalite Plat 40. I don't usually use this stuff, but it's going to be interesting to see if there's no cure inhibition because I use lacquer to clear coat that fin. Lacquer's been working. This is like the most sensitive stuff I have when it comes to cure inhibition. Okay, we have inhibited curing where the UV resin was to be expected, but is it where the fin is? Please, please, please. I don't want to have to make another mold. It looks a little sticky. Okay, that's not good. I just scraped the inside wall of the sprue. See, the issue is I have this giant container of Plat 40, 2 parts, ordered 10 pounds of it. And I just want to be able to use it for something, you know? That's not the sound you want to hear when demolding. Let's have a look. It's all sticky. Boy, this video is taking such a long time. It's gonna be like 3 weeks between the uploads. Goodness gracious. Unless I just try to pour that. I'll give it 4 hours, and then I'll pour that. You know, the silicone not touching, what's inhibiting the cure. See if it cures up just a little bit more and try to pour. Let's do that. Okay, this probably didn't turn out. Oh my goodness. It looks fine. I poured it in the wrong plastic though. This is SwimBait Plastics 142, super soft. Look at that. Floppy flopper right there. So I'm heating up some much harder stuff and I'll try to make it look just like that. That looks great. That's better. I like the color better too.
She's apparently never coming back. The quote is, she'll never return. Yeah.
Starts out a neighborhood.
Full disclosure, I needed to add weight, 2 big old hunks of lead in the front pieces to get this thing to actually run good. It did work before, but it was like, when it was floating on the surface, it was sideways a little bit. Now it sits perfectly straight, and it has much more action coming in than it did before. That's it right there, fellas. Hybrid, copper nose carving with a wolf cichlid paint job, right there. That works good. That tail matches when there's light behind it, but not so much when there's not light behind it. Still looks good. Those have UV coat over them, by the way. It's not just exposed lead sitting there. It looks like it because the UV is so clear. But let's go fish it for a while. I should have kept that as backup, because I don't think my chances are very high today. But we're just gonna give it a few casts and see how it does anyway.
Caught anything?
No. Nope. Nope. No, I didn't. Leave a like for the large nucle. Excuse me, nucle. Fancy paint scheme I've never tried before. The bait works good. I had to convince it. I had to add weight. That's not cool. It's never cool when you have to drill holes in your finished bait. So that lowers the officialness score a bit. It does look quite striking to me. This isn't to be ranked like a 1 day. Looks pretty good. Didn't catch a fish. I mean, it's pretty much December already. I shouldn't expect to catch a fish. B- official. I couldn't decide on C. I don't want it. This is C+ official, never mind. C+ official. That's right, I'm doing pluses and minuses because I can't give these things such general categories. C+ official. I feel confident about that. If you're watching this the day that it came out, I'm doing a live stream tonight. We're gonna figure some things out. Boop! I can't show you the actual, it's got the name of what's on here. But we're gonna decide some colors to inject into those. Make some baiting decisions. So join me whenever I get the kids to bed Central Time. That's when I'll start. Hopefully the internet's reaching out here tonight. It wasn't last live stream, but I've made a few adjustments, so. I'm in a bit of a pickle. I'm going to start making the next lure today, but my member baiters, if you become a member of the channel, you get to literally decide what I make. Link below. I run polls of 4 different options of what the next bait will be, or like what the next paint scheme will be, or what the next whatever I'm doing will be. So you get to vote if you're a member baiter. And it's tied. Strawberry grouper or telescope fish. I think if it's tied, I'm just gonna choose what I prefer out of that. So I have to decide that. Let's get on to the next bait. Thanks for watching. On to the next bait.
Nucle.
Nucle. Big, excuse me, big, what was the word?
Nucle.
Big nucle gills.